Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:06, and it's time to muster up and get going wherever you need to go. No, you got 3 days. That's enough. Let's roll now. We got things to do. We got a country to save. Coming up at 6:35, Hung Kao is running for Senate in Virginia. Just got a pretty high-profile endorsement, probably the highest-profile endorsement you can get as a Republican. At 7:35, Peter Schweitzer on the latest revelations of the Biden family's corruption. At 8:05, Byron York, Washington Examiner, gives us a preview of what should be the final week of the Trump trial in New York. And then at 8:35, Mary Margaret Olohan, brand new book called D-Trans, True Stories of Escaping the Gender Ideology Cult. Boy, that's a nice, well-rounded slate of topics. And we've got Julie Gunlock to help us through all of it. Good morning, Julie. Are you coming off your Memorial Day barbecue sort of coma there?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
You're bouncing back. You're ready. It's hard sometimes on a day after a 3-day weekend to sort of dive right back in. But we're diving right back in.
Yes, we are.
It was announced yesterday, sort of floated, sort of leaked, sort of who knows what they're doing. But it was reported by the New York Post that Joe Biden plans to address the American people from the White House when the Trump verdict comes in. Now, what's interesting to me is if Trump is found not guilty, what exactly is he going to say from the White House? It seems to me that the whole projection here already is they're assuming he's guilty, right? Because what other reason is there to address the nation?
Right.
If he's found not guilty. By the way, what is there a reason to address the nation if he's found guilty? Whatever the verdict is, why does the president need to comment on it across all the stations from the White House using the power of his office? Does that make any sense?
It makes no sense.
It's a purely political move, which would be odd considering I was told that this trial has nothing to do with politics. It's just, law and order and criminal justice, and no one is above the law, and if you break the law, you got to be tried for the law that you've broken. So why the political injection of the political seat of the president of the United States? It's all very curious. The New York Post reporting that President Joe Biden plans to address former President Donald Trump's Manhattan criminal trial in a White House setting when the jury delivers its verdict, according to the report. The 81-year-old president's message will be tailored to the outcome of the trial, according to Politico. But in any scenario, he intends to stress that the U.S. legal system worked and Americans should respect the process. Oh, see, he's trying to keep people from rioting. If he's found not guilty or if there's a hung jury, he's here to talk Antifa down off the ledge so that they don't start burning cities, because it's the wild, crazy left who might do such a thing.
Well, and he's obviously going to be suggesting that there could be another insurrection-like move from the right, from Trump supporters, from MAGA. So this is, he will get up there and try to act like, the calmer in chief, the father, right, calming the madness that's out there. That's what they're trying to go for. That's the optics they're trying to go for.
Here's what I'm confused by. Because this guy and his vice president, Kamala Harris, and basically their entire political party, they spent the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years telling us that the criminal justice system is broken in this country. Right? They've told us that it's systemically racist, that people can't get a fair trial based on their skin color or their ethnicity or the class status or their financial, but whatever it is, to pander to whatever votes they need or whatever mob in the street is threatening to burn down a block. They tell us that the criminal justice system is broken. He says it all the time. So how does he know? He says he's going to address the nation and tell us that the criminal justice system works.
In this case.
Right. How does he know? How does he know that? Has he been watching the trial? Has he been paying attention? Has he been monitoring what the judge has been doing? Has he been monitoring what the prosecution? How exactly does he know that in this case, this one and only case, the criminal justice system is not flawed in any way or systemically broken? That's weird, isn't it?
It is.
It's only when this one guy is the defendant. I would think that the president of the United States, also, by the way, if there is an appeal to whatever verdict comes up, isn't the president of the United States jumping out in front of this thing and weighing in on it? Isn't that sort of tampering with the appeals process?
Seems to be.
And tampering
That's right.
tampering with the judicial system. I mean, Donald Trump is a defendant. He's innocent until proven guilty. Even if he gets convicted or what have you, he has the right to appeal. But the president is going to weigh in on it from the bully pulpit of the White House and proclaim to the world that the system worked before the defendant even has the chance to appeal.
Well, again, Biden is trying to, this is all political. It's campaigning. This is classic campaigning. He is trying to reach his base. He is trying to reach a base that very likely will stay home. That he is going to say, this is a convicted criminal now.
That's exactly right.
That's right. So get off your couch and vote for me because I'm the only option. I'm the only legitimate candidate out there. And I know that I've been a disappointment. Of course, he won't say this, but, he's trying to appeal to the people who think he's a disappointment or who are feeling legitimate concerns about their own condition, whether that's their lifestyle, whether that's the fact that they can't find a home or because interest rates are too high or they can't get out of their current home because they can't afford a new home. Whatever it is, there's an awful lot of Democrats who are not insane. I know there's few of them, but there are a lot of Democrats out there who are going, my life is not better. And this is going to be an appeal to those voters who think Biden's not my guy. But then he will say, look, I'm the only one. The other guy is a convicted criminal. So I'm the only one who can really take care of this country.
I guess that's the plan. Although the New York Post and Politico assure us that, are you ready for this? In an effort to have his remarks not perceived as being political, Biden will deliver them from the White House grounds because there's nothing political about using the White House as a backdrop.
Yeah.
The Biden campaign is also prepping for the historic verdict, reportedly considering referring to the presumptive GOP nominee for president in social media posts as, quote, convicted felon Donald Trump, unquote,
gosh.
If he's found guilty. Well, good. they should start referring to Joe Biden as pathological liar Joe Biden.
There we go.
Or broken-brained Joe Biden.
Or corrupt, or bot, or Manchurian candidate. There's a few.
It's interesting, though. There were polls 5-6 months ago that said that if Donald Trump is convicted of a felony, that could make a difference in swing states, right? That they're, it's like it's one thing for him to be charged and going through the trial and all of this stuff. But if a jury actually finds him guilty of a felony, there are some voters who are like, all right, that's the last straw. I can't vote for a felon. And that's what they've been hoping for.
That's right.
And
it's all they have, Larry.
I know. And I've been admonishing everybody. It's like, don't hang your hat on that because a poll about a hypothetical is always flawed. What will you do if A happens or if B happens? And you say, oh, well, I'll do that. But you never really know until you're in the middle of it.
But that's why he is going to sit in the White House and talk about how legitimate this process was and how good the judicial system worked. This worked. Yeah. That is why, because if you cast any doubt, it's a New York jury. It's a never Trump land. His argument doesn't work.
Yeah, well, let me just follow up here because even though those polls said that several months ago, New York Post notes that a new poll released by the Cook Political Report says that a majority of swing state voters are actually more concerned about Biden's age than about Trump's criminal cases. So for all of this anticipation that a guilty verdict on Donald Trump would be the game changer and the end of all of it, yeah, like I said, it's a hypothetical. And now, faced with the reality that he might be convicted in this sham of a trial, compared to the very real issue of our president of the United States not being able to stay awake during a Memorial Day celebration or observance, maybe, just maybe, the American people aren't going to vote the way Democrats always assume they will. But we look forward to hearing from the president at the White House in the same way we still look forward to hearing him address the nation after the death of 13 service members in Afghanistan and the recent murder of 2 soldiers in Iraq at the hands of terrorists backed by Iran. See, on those occasions, the commander-in-chief never addressed the nation. Those things, the death of our service members in combat due to his incompetence, that doesn't rise to the level of an address by the president from the White House. But Trump getting convicted in Manhattan in a scam trial, oh, yes. He'll get all the network's coverage. It's 5:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s. Jamie Whitten's back. She's in the Hadid carpet cleaning traffic.
WMAL, making sense of the headlines because common sense isn't so common. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
And meanwhile, on the other side of the presidential election, Donald Trump spent the day doing some Memorial Day observances. But before he left the house, he put out a message on Truth Social. Can I read it to you?
Sure.
Do you mind the Memorial Day message from Donald Trump on Truth Social? 10 a.m. yesterday from Mar-a-Lago. Happy Memorial Day to all, including the human scum that is working so hard to destroy our once great country, and to the radical left Trump-hating federal judge in New York that presided over, get this, 2 separate trials that awarded a woman who I never met before, a quick handshake at a celebrity event 25 years ago doesn't count, $91 million for defamation. She didn't know when the so-called event took place sometime in the 1990s, never filed a police report, didn't have to produce the dress that she threatened me with. It showed negative, and sung my praises in the first half of CNN interview with Allison Cooper. All right, that's kind of funny. It's not as good as Chris Plant's Manderson Pooper, but it's pretty good. Allison Cooper, but changed her tune in the second half. Gee, I wonder why, under appeal, the rape charge was dropped by a jury. Or Arthur Engeron, the New York State wacko judge who fined me almost $500 million under appeal for doing nothing wrong, used a statute that has never been used before, gave me no jury, Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. Now for Merchant. That was the Happy Memorial Day post from Donald Trump.
I understand he has a lot to be angry about, but maybe not on Memorial Day.
He actually framed it at the beginning. Happy Memorial Day to all, including
the human scum.
Then a little later on, he quoted the Gospels. He said, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend." John
that was after
15:13.
the staff meeting where they're like, sir.
Is there maybe something about the troops?
Sir, could you? Yeah.
So that's good. And then 5 hours later, after quoting the Gospels, can you imagine a president of the United States who got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, and who's also the Republican nominee for president in the upcoming 2024 election, and leading in all the polls against the Democrat nominee Joe Biden, is tomorrow going before a corrupt and conflicted Democrat-appointed acting New York judge on a fake and made-up case by a Soros-backed failed DA and the judge himself to see whether or not he'll become a common criminal? According to virtually all legal scholars and experts, there is no crime or case against President Trump. And if there was, it should have been brought 7 years ago, not in the middle of his campaign for president. Prosecutorial misconduct, election interference.
Go troops.
And then 45 minutes later, all caps, why is the corrupt government allowed to make the final argument in the case against me? Why can't the defense go last? Big advantage, very unfair. Witch hunt, DJT. That suggests the other ones weren't penned by him. That was the only one that actually had his initials at the end.
Yeah, he wasn't done.
He wasn't, no, about 10 minutes later. No, excuse me, 1 minute later.
Jeez.
Could someone please ask Judge Merchant whatever happened to Mark Pomerantz, the man Alvin Bragg was furious at for the things he did on this contrived and unconstitutional case, and why wasn't he allowed to testify? Also, why did Judge Merchant not allow Brad Smith, the leading election law expert in the country, to testify? He would have ended the case quickly by explaining the law and stating that President Trump did nothing wrong. Likewise, Bob Costello and all of his direct and irrefutable knowledge. Why was he so horribly treated and completely shut down by the conflicted judge, and why were his emails and text messages not allowed to be shown? And then, of course, there's the biggest event of them all, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because I'm under an illegal and unconstitutional gag order. This is the Biden White House at work. Election interference.
Well,
that's the Memorial Day. I mean, he's
someone
angry.
Was not
I
manning,
understand why he's
someone
angry.
was not manning the grill.
No,
yesterday.
he could have been. He could have been just doing a cookout like the rest of us.
Yeah, he was sitting, having a few beers, getting increasingly angry, which I don't blame him for being angry about this. But again, let's not do that on Memorial Day. This is a day for the troops.
What bothers me about I agree. And what bothers me about it is it's not like there are other people who are making that exact case already. I mean, the president
exactly.
the president can stay above that fray. Of course he's going to speak out, and he speaks out every day when he shows up at work. But there's a lot of us making that case for him at pretty high-profile positions, on pretty high-profile pedestals. And I guess it gets more attention when he puts it out there, but it's not always a good look. But I understand. I don't know how I would behave if I were facing the criminal justice system in the unfair way that he is. So
I agree. I see. Yeah.
It's 5:23.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on this day after Memorial Day, winding up the month of May, 28th day of May to be precise. Coming up at 6:35, Hung Kao running for Senate in Virginia, and he just got a pretty big endorsement. Like, huge. The endorsement came in very bigly. I'm sure he'll talk about that. Also at 7:35, Peter Schweitzer. 8:05, Byron York on what to expect from the Trump trial this week as it wraps up. And then at 8:35, Mary Margaret Olohan, a brand new book. It's called D-Trans, True Stories of Escaping the Gender Ideology Cult. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Speaking of gender ideology cult, Julie and I are going to be appearing up in Scranton, Pennsylvania tomorrow night to kick off the Independent Women's Forum bus tour around the country with Riley Gaines, Martina Navratilova, Jennifer Say, a ton of people
Paula
who are
Scanlon, yes.
trying to find women as we've always known it to be defined. So we're very humbled to be asked to be the MCs for that. That's going to be great.
That is going to be so much fun.
And it's Joe Biden's hometown.
That's right.
He's just a boy from Scranton. Not that we're allowed to even say what a boy is.
If you are listening from the Scranton area, if you're in, Pennsylvania, if you're interested, come and join us. It starts at 5 o'clock. I think doors open at 4:30.
It'll be fun.
And I will tweet out the details.
There you go. So we just talked about Donald Trump's very busy day on Truth Social with regard to Memorial Day. The Squad had a very busy Memorial Day as well. Two of them on Twitter had to not just tweet out their Memorial Day thoughts, but then delete them because, well, they embarrassed themselves. I'm talking about Cori Bush of Missouri and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Now, they put posts out there. They politicize this thing. Why can't they just say, and this goes for Trump too, Happy Memorial Day, let's honor the fallen and always remember the sacrifice they made so that we can live free and enjoy everything America has to offer, and leave it at that, and just be humble. Instead, they have to politicize this stuff.
Of course. So
Cori Bush and Ilhan Omar, they put out their Memorial Day greeting on X, and then immediately, I hate when politicians treat our military like they're victims, like they're, that they're just one other interest group that needs a bunch of money thrown at them to appease them and make them feel better. And this is Memorial Day. I hate to tell you this. There's not a lot you can do to make somebody feel better after they've given their life for our country, other than respect their sacrifice and make sure that you live up to it. But here's what Ilhan Omar said. On Memorial Day, we honor the heroic men and women who served our country. Well, that's not exactly what we do on Memorial Day. We actually honor the heroic men and women who gave their lives for our country. And, if I may say, for her country.
Yes.
Somalia. There were plenty of men who died trying to free her.
Yep.
All right, then she goes on. We owe them more than our gratitude. They have more than earned access to quality mental health services, job opportunities, housing assistance, and the benefits they were promised. Wait, again, I mean, the only benefits that were promised to the people who have died are death benefits and for the surviving spouse, I guess. But I don't think those are in question right now.
Right. But it doesn't matter because she doesn't know what Memorial Day is.
She's confused.
And she has never honored a service member who sacrificed for her country in her entire life. She doesn't care. It's just so clear. She doesn't care about
She
these
doesn't
people.
care. This was like a boilerplate template thing that they just felt obligated to do. But again, she's treating it like it's Veterans Day.
Yes.
not Memorial Day. By the way, I bet you any money, instead of having some staffer put out a boilerplate template post like they did for Memorial Day, I bet you she's going to speak when Pride Month comes.
Oh.
It's going to be very personal and from the heart. She's not going to get that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And it wasn't, that was Ilhan Omar.
That was Ilhan Omar. Cory Bush's people, apparently they share the same templates and boilerplates.
Yeah.
And same half a brain. Here's Cory Bush. This Memorial Day and every day, we honor our veterans in St. Louis. Wait, what?
What?
That's not what we do. We don't honor our veterans.
And only the ones in St. Louis?
Yeah. We must invest in universal health care, affordable housing, comprehensive mental health services, and educational and economic opportunities for our veterans as we work to build a world free of war and violence.
Oh, my God.
Both of them deleted their tweets.
Yes.
Because, well,
Because
they were
don't
wrong.
know. Yes.
Yeah. Although I have to say, as embarrassing and as disrespectful as those two tweets are on Memorial Day from those two squad members, Rashida Tlaib did them one better. Rashida Tlaib, the congresswoman representing Gaza and the Palestinian territories in Michigan, actually spoke in person at something called the People's Conference for Palestine. It's funded and supported by a group called the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which, by the way, I think is one of the groups that Monty Python makes fun of in that scene in Life of Brian. We're the People's Popular Front of Palestine. No, you're not. The Palestinians People's Popular Front. Splinter. It's like exactly the name. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which is a communist group. They actually extol Marxism if you look at their
And they're a terrorist
manifesto.
group. Yeah.
And they're a terrorist group. It's actually headquartered in the capital.
Damascus.
It's headquartered in Damascus, and it's funded by Iran. And Rashida Tlaib went and was their keynote speaker.
The group has been designated a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S., Japan, Canada, the European Union, and yet Tlaib went there and spoke.
She's a sitting member of Congress, and she went and gave...
How is she...
That's aid and support to the enemy.
I mean, we're okay. And meanwhile, the New York Times puts 4 reporters on Alito hanging a flag in his yard.
Yes, and they drummed George Santos out of Congress.
Yeah, and they drummed George Santos out. There has been, to my knowledge, very little coverage of this, of Tlaib speaking.
Well, you know what? We get things started. We talked about it at 5:43. So, Hey, Julie.
Hey.
Would you like to hear what Rashida Tlaib sounded like when she was speaking to a communist terrorist group?
Why not?
I mean, here she is. This is Rashida Tlaib. It's sadly in my home city of Detroit, Michigan, the place of my birth. But I got out when I was 3, so, I can't be blamed the entire time. Here she is speaking to the People's Conference for Palestine, funded by the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, not to be confused with the Palestinian Liberation Popular Front or the Popular Palestinian Front for Liberation. This is the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Y'all, welcome. Welcome to the most beautiful, blackest city in the country, the city of Detroit.
Already leading with divisive racial rhetoric. I'm from Detroit, Rashida. What are you saying? No,
you don't belong
sorry,
there, is
it's
what
a
she's
black
saying.
city.
Yeah.
Everyone
stay
else
out,
is just
Larry.
there by permission.
Right.
We'll allow you to be here, but we'll barely tolerate you. She's such a unified. This is Joe Biden's party, by the way. It's funny. There are some odious people on the right, okay,
Sure.
politically. And there are some of them are really hateful, sort of anti-Semitic, awful people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they do their thing, and they've got their little audience, mostly, teenage boys who haven't quite figured out how to talk to a girl yet. So
Right.
they decide they want to act manly by watching somebody rant with hate-spewed rhetoric on YouTube. That's fine. We all go through a phase, I suppose. If a sitting member of Congress goes and addresses those people, they are demonized. They are drummed out of Congress.
Absolutely.
They are absolutely persona non grata. Rashida Tlaib is used for fundraising for the Democrats. She's a guiding light for the party. And here she is beginning her address to the communist terrorist Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine group by saying Detroit is the blackest city because, that's the most important thing about Detroit. Leading with race has done such wonders for Detroit over the last 5 decades.
Yep. And don't forget, this is who Biden is pandering to.
Yes. This is who does Biden want to please with his policy in the Middle East right now? This woman right here.
Yep.
And the people screaming for her.
I don't know if I need to remind you all, but Detroit, we birth movements, not just labor movements. We birth movements on environmental justice.
Julie, you're the mother of 3. When you hear somebody screaming about birthing labor movements, does it sort of give you a bit of a tremble?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that she, as a liberal woman, would mention birthing.
Yeah,
I didn't
really.
think that was something that she's allowed to say.
I think, birthing people. Men could be involved in that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true.
Women's rights and so much more.
Women's rights.
Women's
so
rights.
welcome. Gain strength from this amazing, beautiful black city that raised me.
She's
I don't
obsessed.
need to tell you
Yeah.
that you're on the right side. I don't need to. But I'll be damned if I wait 10 years before they apologize to all of you for doing what was right at this moment. Each year, our country, and I say our country because it is our country, sends billions of dollars to maintain an apartheid government and support the ongoing ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. It is disgraceful.
Go. That's
Yeah,
your
she's
squad.
talking about Israel, of course.
Yes,
yes.
the
And she's talking
apartheid.
about this genocide when there are still hostages that nobody wants to, including an infant that has been held for almost 250 days. This woman is sickening.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and somebody needs to do something about it. The members of the Democratic Party, I doubt that Hakeem Jeffries is going to take this up and start disciplining their own. But what's interesting is Donald Trump, speaking with donors over the weekend, he actually might want to do something about this. He said, according to reports during this fundraising event a week ago, if elected president, Trump wants to expel foreign students who come to the country with hateful views of America. He said, and I'm quoting now, "One thing I do is any student that protests, I throw them out of the country. There are a lot of foreign students. As soon as they hear that, they're going to behave. It has to be stopped now. If you get me elected, and you should really be doing this, if you get me reelected, we're going to set that movement back 25 or 30 years. In other words, if you're in this country as a favor, if you're under our permission to become a college student and learn from our great universities as a guest, then you don't trash our country."
Can that include Ilhan Omar?
Well, I guess
Can we
technically
toss her?
she has citizenship.
Oh, that's too bad.
She came here under an asylum request
Yeah.
from Somalia during Bill Clinton's presidency. We wanted to make sure we opened the gates, because we sent our troops there to die to save her nation. And then she fled, came here, ran for Congress, and now she dumps on our country any given chance.
That's right.
Along
And can't
with
even
Rashida
get
Tlaib.
Memorial Day right.
That's right. So there you go. That's what the squad was up to on Memorial Day.
Lovely people.
Could we get a spokesperson from the People's Popular Palestinian Front for Liberation? I'd love to talk with them. It's 5:53.